Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the weekend and the deck. All of this kind of started, I'm going to say, 2 or 3 months ago, when, like, people have different you have different formats that you kind of your focus your non-actual constructive Magic time on. I phrased that poorly. I don't mean like drafting. I mean just like when you're daydreaming about Magic, you're kind of thinking while you're doing something else about a format. Like I think about Legacy. I think, well, like, what am I want to do in Legacy now? I have this Top Gut band, this pile deck that I like. It's fine. It's not great. It's okay. Like, what cards do I really want to play in Legacy? And normally, at least for me, and people are different, I think of what deck do I want to play and how can I adapt it to be better against the field or just improve the deck. This time, that was not the process. There were 2 cards that I wanted to play in Legacy that I felt like these 2 cards I want to build a deck around, or a deck that can use them. And let's see if we can make this work. The 2 cards I wanted to play were Rest in Peace, because Deathrite Shaman's everywhere. Graveyards are important. It's not just Deathrite Shaman, which is pretty, it's just all over the place. You get Reanimator, Storm uses Graveyard. Miracles is very dependent on the graveyard because of Search for Azcanta being printed. So now they have Search and Snapcaster Mage, so they're dependent on it. There's Delve guys. There's, Kolaghan's Command, returning creatures. Graveyards are very important, so I wanted to play with Rest in Peace. And the other card I wanted to play with was Back to Basics. And so this whole process started with, what deck can I play that uses Rest in Peace and Back to Basics? How can I justify doing this? And once you decide that you want to play Rest in Peace in your main deck, it's not very hard to leap to playing Helm of Obedience, and this has been done in the past, because the combination of the 2 cards win the game. And for anyone that's not familiar with Helm of Obedience, because it is an old card, is right there. It's just through a quirk of how the rules work and how it's printed. With Rest in Peace, you activate this for 1 or more, and you deck your opponent. So it's kind of a clean way to win that takes advantage of Rest in Peace. Another card, like Irish is saying, that works well with Rest in Peace is Energy Field, which is a combo in the sense that Energy Field's drawback is you have something go to your graveyard. Well, Rest in Peace prevents that from happening. So Rest in Peace Energy Field, you can't take damage. Rest in Peace Helm, you win the game. And conveniently, Energy Field and Back to Basics are the same color, so at least we have somewhere to start. Now, if you're me, when you are looking into playing something that's new to you but already has existed in the past, you go and do some research. So you look up through the various forums, the source being the main one, and you look through the archives looking for stuff relating to Rip Helm. And you find out that there's basically nothing in the last 5 years. And the stuff that is out there isn't that useful. So it's not to say that there's nobody playing Rip Helm, but it is certainly not common. It's not being worked on in public spaces. So basically starting from scratch, which I have no problem with. Probably a little aside here, everyone enjoys Magic in their own way, and one of the things that I find engrossing about the game is working on something that is sort of semi-unknown, doesn't have to be completely off the radar, but semi-unknown, and that people don't know that I'm working on. I like that. It's silly, and over time it probably costs me match wins, but I like working on stuff when other people don't know about it. So you guys will notice that the week or 2 before the Grand Prix, I didn't stream, because sometimes I will stream with other decks or other formats from what I'm working on, but I really want to spend some time working on this, and I didn't want to do it in public, so I just didn't stream. I actually wasn't even playing in leagues the first week. I just played with a couple of people I know who helped out playing the other side of matchups. And that's also something I don't normally do. I don't test specific matchups. I just play in leagues. And in this case, we started out playing specific matchups to see whether the deck is really viable or not. Bobby Graves and Justin Porteous are the two people I spent, particularly Justin, we spent a lot of time playing. And so when I mentioned their names, they helped out a lot in this. And then the second week, I played. I started playing leagues online, except I was playing on a different account because my account name is recognizable. And even though I admit that this is stupid, I like the idea of people not knowing what I'm playing, so I didn't want to play on my own account. Anyway, but we're back, like 2 months ago. We're at the very beginning of this idea, and trying to think of, well, okay, so we want to play Rest in Peace in a blue-white deck. So the obvious problem in my mind is how do you generate card advantage without the graveyard? That's how important Rest in Peace is to how important graveyards are to the format. Is it took me a while to even figure out how am I going to have card advantage in this like control-ish blue-white deck if I can't use the graveyard. The first thing I thought of was to use the free spells with As Foretold. And so I put together a deck with As Foretold. This was a couple months ago. And with Ancestral Vision and Living End as my defense, because Living End is also good with Rest in Peace because there's no drawback to casting a second Living End because your opponent's creatures are all exiled anyway. Then in that case, you get to play Tolaria West, which is a ton of card advantage. You can cycle Tolaria West, or transmute it, sorry, for 3 mana and get a Wrath of God or a draw 3. That's a pretty good deal. So I put this together, Rest in Peace, Back to Basics, As Foretold, all this stuff, Enlightened Tutors, some Force of Wills, and I played about 6 games and I got crushed. It's like, okay, well, that didn't work very well. So, okay, are we abandoning this already? Well, no, because I don't usually give up on deck ideas until they really don't work. And this was only the beginning stages of not working. So, anyway, that was like 2 months ago. Fast forward to like 1 month ago, still kind of tossing around the idea in my head. I built 4 versions of the deck, utilizing some of them. There's a lot of overlap, but I built 4 different versions of the deck. The first one being the As Foretold build, and then the other one's having other stuff. And I started working on them over the last couple weeks before the event. Again, emphasizing Enlightened Tutors, Rest in Peace, Back to Basics, Energy Field, and then we have to have card advantage still. So, okay, a lot of decks are playing Predict, well, not a lot, but Miracle decks are playing Predict to go with all their cantrips. That's card advantage. It probably works well. The problem is I've never played with Predict, really. So how am I going to practice playing with this to figure out if it's even viable or not? Well, some of you guys that watch me stream saw me practice that. And this is another thing I like to do, is I kind of practice in stealth mode in the open. Again, more because it amuses me than because it's efficient. But I streamed 2 days in a row about 3 weeks ago with Marcus Ewald's High Tide deck in Legacy. And yeah, we say, oh, we're playing High Tide because it's fun, it's entertaining, it's kind of a cute deck, it's enjoyable, people enjoy watching it once in a while. And that's great. That's not what we were doing. I was actually testing the draw engine for my Rip Helm deck with a different, 35 cards surrounding it. That's happened in the past. Even back, for all the time I was playing Miracles, it was not uncommon for me to play Miracles on stream completely open with proxies in the deck that the viewers were unaware of. So that I can play it and see how things work, still be streaming for you guys, and also be working out in my mind, how is this card to be replacing something else that's similar, or at least maybe not even similar, just using the same number of spots. So anyway, so I played 2 streams with with the Brainstorm Ponder, Predict, Skeleton with a proxy deck around it. And again, that's fun for me. It feels sneaky. Probably doesn't accomplish all that much, but anyway, it worked well enough. I was like, okay, Predict's pretty good. So we can make that work. Instead of playing the As Foretold Ancestral plan, I can just play Predicts. So we'll do that. Then I play even more cantrips. And then the rest of the deck starts coming together. Like all along, I was thinking like Humility is a really good card. And another thing, so basically, what I'm looking at the Legacy format over the last month is Rest in Peace seems very good, Back to Basics seems very good, and very specifically, most Legacy decks cannot kill an enchantment that costs more than 3 mana. That's a truth of the format that I kind of like was aware of but didn't really matter to me. And one of the reasons I became aware of it is because the Pile deck had a really hard time. I actually changed my Pile sideboard like 3 months ago because when I put in the Nulls, because if Allure or Humility hit the board, you couldn't get rid of it ever. Same as Sneak Attack. Because for a lot of decks, Abrupt Decay is their enchantment removal. Or else Pyroblast is their enchantment removal if anything is relevant. Or Pithing Needle is their enchantment removal for Sneak Attack. But the actual enchantments, it's very hard to get rid of. And so Humility is very powerful. It's great against Sneak Attack. So Rest in Peace Energy Field stops burn and creature combat, but it doesn't stop you from getting destroyed by Emrakul. Humility does. And it's free if you're playing a Show and Tell, so great. So we're going to plan on playing some Humilities. Well, before I even played with it, it occurred to me, what goes well with Humility? Jace Architect is great with Humility. Put Humility up first again in case some of you guys are not current on the cards. Humility turns everything into a 1/1, right? No abilities, no anything. It's just a 1/1. Activated abilities get around this from like Mutavault becomes a 2/2 with Humility in play. Planeswalkers can get around this in some ways, but basically it wipes out creatures. Oops. Basically wipes out creatures. Now, so Humility's good. Jace Architect is really, really good against a horde of 1/1s. Additionally, it's a tutor for your win condition. I didn't start out with Jace Architect in the deck. I started out with Jace Mind Sculptor in the deck because Jace Mind Sculptor is such a good card. You have to play that, right? Well, I did play Jace Mind Sculptor in the original As Foretold version. And you know what happened? I would get out like Rest in Peace Energy Field and be totally safe, play Jace, and then my opponent would immediately attack and it would die. I play Humility. Great, my opponent has a bunch of 1/1s. I can play Jace and Brainstorm once, and then we attack and die. This is not accomplishing a whole lot. So let's try Jace Architect. This is the kind of thing where you say, I'm going to try something, seems like it should work, probably won't. Other people that I'm talking with are saying, this is never going to work, you can't play Jace Architect, it's stupid. Sure, but theoretically, shouldn't it work well with Humility? It's a lock, right? Like, we already have the Rest in Peace Energy Field lock, but can we play another, can we have Humility Jace Architect? Because that's a lock, it locks out creatures permanently. And people can't get rid of 4-mana enchantments at all. One of the ways that people get rid of it in Elves, for example, is tutoring for Reclamation Sage. That doesn't work. You can't really bolt a Jace Architect down without having 2 at the beginning, because it starts at 4, goes up to 5, can't get damaged when there's Humility in play. So they have to have, you know, like a Pyroblast. But they already have to Pyroblast Energy Field because enchantments are hard to get rid of. Grixis Delver cannot get rid of Rest in Peace Energy Field without a Pyroblast. That's the only thing they have that can affect it. So if we're stressing their Pyroblast, that's great. So we're starting to have some ideas come together. Try this out. It proves to be not awful, which is exciting, again, because what are we looking for? We're looking for an under-the-radar deck that plays Rest in Peace, Back to Basics, has some unusual interactions, and is kind of sneaky quiet. This is perfect. I'm enjoying myself. Even if, at this point, even if the deck never sees play in an event, if it sucks and I throw it in the trash, I'm enjoying the time I'm putting into it, and really that's one of the things we're looking for. I mean, it's not all we're looking for, but it's something. Now, this takes up a lot of space. We have humility, recipes, energy field. We're going to have some counters on deck. That went back and forth on numbers. We have enlightened tutors, back to basics. We have some amount of removal. It wasn't clear at this point how much. It probably wasn't going to be extensive. And then we have a sideboard, and we have to figure out how to beat control decks, probably, because it seems like those are going to be tough. With my recipes, energy field that does nothing to them. My humility, what doesn't do a ton. I have some win conditions and some counters, but really I don't have that much going on that's going to help against control decks. So the sideboard's going to have to be really devoted to that. I wasn't sure that I'd ever be able to beat Miracles in Game 1. But I started playing some matchups. After having spent a lot of time thinking about the deck, I actually start playing. Stinking Show proves to be not the easiest thing in the world. It's not impossible. Justin actually tried boarding out the Show and Tells, because when they play Show and Tell, you drop humility, the game's over most of the time. So he tried playing without them. That didn't work. He started getting crushed. So then he started leaving them in. He was winning more than half the games. Just a sideboard, put in some containment priests, then you start winning. Elves had a little bit of a hard time. Not the end of the world. And again, containment priest helps against elves. So that kind of solved a few problems. Trying to just... Lapsity, thank you. Kind of just start playing some early, 5 or so matches against a few different decks, figure out where the problems are, what the board might need to have in it. And then also focusing on the main deck, because the main deck's got a lot of mess in it. I had stuff like Detention Sphere, because you can Enlightened Tutor for it. His problem is Detention Sphere kind of sucks, because Abrupt Decay on Detention Sphere gets you right back into trouble again. So does Pyroblast on Detention Sphere. And Enlightened Tutor gets you what you need. You tutor for your lock piece, you get back to basics, which we have in the main deck. And I started to play, you know what? I don't really like the Enlightened Tutor that much. Well, but I can't not play it, right? Because it's too important to everything. My whole deck is based on enchantments. How can I cut, and also the Helm. How can I cut Enlightened Tutor? Well, okay, we'll cut one. So we're down to one Enlightened Tutor. And you know what card I end up hating the most in the deck? The other Enlightened Tutor. I'll cut that too. At that point, there's no point in playing Detention Sphere if I can't tutor for it. So then we get to cut all the bad cards out of the deck that I don't like. Put in more cantrips, max out on predicts. And that was actually a question also. Is, for a time, and I know you guys want to see the deck list, we'll get to that. But I want to go through kind of the thought process, because it's interesting to me, so hopefully it's interesting to some of you guys. And some of this can be applied to other decks. So the cantrip slot, again, like I was saying, I never really played Predict until the stealth play of the High Tide deck. And at the time, I was thinking, I have room for 15 cards for... basically for filtering and card advantage. At the time, I had 15. So Brainstorm and Ponders are locked in, obviously. And then that leaves 7 more cards out of potentially 8, which would be Portent and Predict. I didn't have any idea which one to short. Do you play 3 Portents, or do you play 3 Predicts? And I have no baseline to answer this question for myself. I felt like I would want to Predict because it's more powerful. But I talked to Honorog about it, because he's someone that's played a lot of Predicts, and he actually... So this was amusing. I was playing the deck with Justin, and we were talking about it, and this exact problem, and we didn't know the answer. And I was like, man, I should really talk to like Honorog Das, because he plays Predict all the time. 3 minutes later, I got a text message from Honorog asking me something completely unrelated. And that was creepy. I was like, oh man, are we accidentally broadcasting our playtest session online, and he's watching and then knows we mentioned his name, so he's texting me? Of course that didn't happen, but it was kind of weird. So I actually talked to him, answered his question about he was asking me about Venser. And then, so I asked him, what do you cut? And he said you cut to Predict 100%. And he was actually down on Predict at the moment, and but he said, yeah, 100% you cut the Predicts and not the 1-minute cantrips. Okay, it's good to have his perspective. Although sometimes you wonder, why do you even ask people for help? because even though he knows what he's talking about, he's like, cut to predict. I was like, well, okay, thank you. I'm going to cut the portent anyway. Although it ended up not mattering because I ended up playing the full 16. So we ended up with rearranging some stuff, cutting a land, and playing all 12 of the 1-mana cantrips and 4 predicts. So we have heavy draw power. If Rest in Peace is in play, I actually can basically outdraw the control decks because their Snapcasters and Searchers are gone. They still have their Jaces, but at least that's a slower card. Now, along with the cantrips then comes the mana. How do you make the mana work? How do you make it right? Well, initially I was thinking I would play... I was going to play... All along I was going to play straight blue-white. Probably 1 Caracas, maybe 1 or 2 more on the board to deal with, you know, reanimation targets, Gaddock, Dahlia, whatever. But there's this issue, and I actually have a lot of experience with this, unlike the predict thing, from playing Miracles, playing Legend Miracles, manipulating the mana base there, because there's only so much you can do. There's only so far you can go because you require a certain number of lands just to make things function. The question, or the issue always in Legend Miracles was, how many copies of Cavern of Souls can I play? And the upper limit was determined by how many colored sources of blue and white you needed in the deck to function, because there's certain numbers you just can't cross. For example, in this deck, similar to playing Miracles, I believe the minimum number of blue sources for a deck like this in Legacy is 17. I played 6 months at 16 to make sure, and I do believe that 17 is as low as you can go. I also feel like, and some of you guys have heard me say the same thing before, I want my deck to be able to cast... Now, this isn't true of like a Delve or anything, but if you're playing a control deck or a long game deck, I want to be able to cast every spell in my deck off of basic lands. And since I'm playing Humility, that means I need to have at least 2 basic planes. And since I'm playing any number of blue cards, I need at least 2 basic islands, although we're going to be way past that anyway. But, so if we figure we want 2 basic planes, and we want 17 blue sources, that's 19 total lands already. Now, if you're going to play, so any Caracas you want to play, or other lands like Academy Ruins, you know, whatever else, is going to increase that limit. If you want to play 2 Caracas, then you're already locked yourself into playing at least 21 land. There's no way around it. One of my early versions had Ancient Tombs in it to help play, you know, Humility and Helm of Obedience quicker. Again, that's just increasing the minimum land count. You cannot go below that number no matter what you do. Well, I didn't want to play that many land. There was so much other junk in the deck. Also, you can't play 12 1-mana cantrips and play 24 land in your deck. You just can't do it, because then you're just going to flood all the time. I never tried playing 24, but that's just an example of the extreme end of it. So you can't play that many. So even though I was really planning on playing like at least 1 Caracas, I ended up playing none, because the upper limit on how many lands the deck could play was probably around 20, and the lower limit was a solid 19. So there's really, that's the only place you can go. You can play 20 with a Caracas, or you can play 19 without it, and that's all there is to it. And I ended up going with 19. Once I was confident that you could actually conceivably do that, because that felt like a very small number. But that is what I did. And at that point, the mana base stuck until I realized, and this was interesting, and not something, again, if you played a lot with Predict, you would know this already, but I didn't. Just occured to me that these, nope, okay, never mind. A couple of text messages came in, so I thought they might be important, but they're not. Well, let me glance at that again. I don't think they were. No, they aren't. Okay, so normally you want to have a whole pile of fetch lands in your deck, right? And that's going to be true because you want to get your basics out. You want to have shuffle effects. But you actually don't want to always shuffle, because Predict wants you to not shuffle as often. So I actually, once I'd established a mana base, I ended up just cutting a fetch land for a regular land, because I was shuffling more often than I wanted to. Like if I have, let's just say for example, by turn 2, if I have a Ponder, if I have turn 1 Ponder and then turn 2 Predict in my hand, I don't want my second land to be a fetch land. I want it to be a stable land so that I can cast the Predict without shuffling first. So I ended up cutting a fetch land from what I was initially planning on playing. So now we're at the point where mana base is coming together, Lightning Tutor's been cut, Cantrip's package is sitting pretty, we have Humilities, we have Jace, we have Win Conditions, which is Helm Obedience. Do we need another Win Condition main deck? I ended up deciding no, that we don't. It's unlikely Helm Obedience is going to get, you know, invalidated game 1. And if we absolutely have to, I can use Jace Architect to cast something out of their deck to kill them. Although, I can't imagine that actually working, but that was at least an idea. And just to show you how little I played with Predict, I actually thought if I get them locked up and we're in a stalemate, maybe I can just predict them to deck them faster than myself. Someone else pointed out that every time you predict them, even if you name the wrong card, you're going to draw the same number of cards they are, so you're not actually going to proceed to deck them. And I felt a little silly that that was actually something I thought would work. So, you know, the learning process works for everybody at different rates. The way to move on to the sideboard, though. So we need a ton of sideboard cards to deal with slower decks, particularly Miracles and Pile decks, where they have their own counters. They can probably stop, you know, for example, they can stop my Helms when we need something to win with. And we know we want our win condition cards to not be blue. That's a limiting factor, but I think it's pretty confident that's what you want. Because while, and I've said this before, but for blue cards are more valuable, cheap cards are more valuable if they're blue. Expensive cards are less valuable if they're blue because of Pyroblast. If somebody Pyroblasts your Brainstorm, whatever. If they Pyroblast your Jace, you're down a ton of mana. That sucks. So we want non-blue win conditions. And they can't be creatures because we're playing on eliminating creatures' relevance. However, Planeswalkers work very well. White Planeswalkers work very well with Humility. Gideon, Ally of Zendikar, makes a 2/2 token. With Humility, it's a 1/1. Well, do we really care that it's only a 1/1 since it can still trade with everything they have because their guys are 1/1s also? Seems like a good deal. Elspeth Knight Errant also makes 1/1s. The fact that there's puny little 1/1s doesn't matter because their guys are 1/1s also with Humility out. I did not end up playing Elspeth Knight Errant in the tournament, but I did try it. Also of importance, Humility works. I asked a couple different judges a series of questions with how Humility interacts with different cards. It turns out Humility works out in your favor every single time. If you use Elspeth Knight Errant to jump a token with Humility out, your token is a 4/4 flyer. If you animate Gideon, Ally of Zendikar with Humility out, Gideon is a 5/5 indestructible. Well, isn't that great? You know what makes even more tokens than Gideon, Ally of Zendikar? Elspeth. Elspeth makes 3 tokens. Again, that means one Elspeth activation trades with 3 of your opponent's creatures, no matter how much they cost, because Humility is making them 1/1s. That's a good deal. If you actually ultimate Elspeth, you have 3/3 flying tokens versus their 1/1 non-flying creatures. That's a great deal. So, okay. Now, we have to confirm that we're not out of our minds, because we're planning on playing Jace Architect of Thought and Elspeth Sun Champion in Legacy. I won a Star City Open with Jace Architect of Thought and Elspeth Sun Champion in Standard, like 4 years ago. 5 years ago, maybe. However, Legacy and Standard are not the same thing. Are they? Well, if Humility's in play, they pretty much are. So, this could work. Then we go on filling out the rest of the sideboard with new standard cards like Flusterstorms, Sorcerer's Spyglass, which I was playing for a while, and then with the help of someone else pointing this out, and I felt kind of silly about this. So I'm playing Spyglass because it's useful to see their hands, right? Before you lock down their stuff. Well, plus they can't get hit by Chalice of the Void. So then the question comes up, are there any decks that play Chalice of the Void that you need Piling Needle against? which would be the only time that you'd actually need to be playing Sorcerer Spyglass, right? Well, not really. Red Prison maybe plays Chalice, and they have like Chandra, Torch of Defiance, and like maybe one Koth. But other than that, there's no really other activated abilities in that deck, and there aren't really any other decks that play Chalice that you need Python Needle against. So if there's not that combination, then there's no reason to play Sorcerer Spyglass. I'll just play Python Needles. Okay, so that's another thing that came together. And we need some disenchant effects. We need to be able to deal with Merit Lage, right? That's a big deal. Turbo Depths is a real deck. I was certainly taking into account, because while Humility is good against it, okay, obviously Recipe Synergy Field is good against it, but Turbo Depths is green and black. They could have Abrupt Decays. They could have discard spells. They might be able to break this stuff up. We need something that can deal with Merit Lage. Well, how about Celestial Purge? Kills Merit Lage, but we want something super narrow. Also kills Deathray Shaman, kills Liliana. Planeswalkers were a problem for this deck, especially at the beginning. Even at the end, they weren't great, although they got a lot better. But Planeswalkers could be an issue. Excuse me. Take some water here. So, Celestial Purge can kill Merit Lage, kills other random stuff. However, came up with another option, going back a ways, Into the Royal, because that also deals with other nonsense, and I felt like Celestial Purge is a little bit narrow. Into the Royal can bounce Chalice the Void, Blood Moon, a Planeswalker, any random annoying thing, a big creature, who cares, anything, and it's a cantrip, sort of. Basically, Into the Royal is Cryptic Command. I mean, the picture might be different, the art, you know, the casting cost is sort of the same. You know, there's some different letters in the name, but basically it's the same card. Cryptic Command is good in Modern. Why can't Cryptic Command be good in Legacy? So, we're going to play... Plus, this Cryptic Command basically has an option of paying half the price for only the bounce part, which is the important part anyway, right? Well, wait, who cares about drawing a card? We're already doing that. We just need to be able to bounce Merit Lage. Also, no one on Earth is going to Cabal Therapy Into the Royal, so that's just nice. Not that anyone... who doesn't, you know, have a real good grasp of what's going on or have Utaxian Probe is ever going to hit on Cabal Therapy against this deck. But Into Royal seems like it would work. Okay. Then, you know, like I play for like a couple more days and like realize like some of these ideas are really bad. They're just dumb. Some of them are good. And we're going to keep them in. Into the Royal stayed in. Elspeth Sun Champion stayed in. Jace Architect of Thought stayed in. Enlightened Tutor got cut because obviously that card makes the most sense of any of this stuff, and it didn't make the deck. So here is what I played in the PTQ on Sunday. I organized it, instead of ordering it in Casting House order like I normally do, I put it in order of what kind of cards are associated with each other. So we have land, obviously. I did play 2 Tundras. I really thought about playing just one, but I ended up going with 2. More because of the Arid Mason than anything else. Because I feel like the Arid Mason with 3 fetchable lands wasn't working. I got stuck too often, so I had to up it to 4. So we ended up with 2 Tundras. You could also play 3 planes. But again, if you're going to do that, you have to play 20 lands, and I only wanted to play 19, so that's where we are. So we got all our 1-mana cantrips, and we got predicts. We got all our lock pieces. Recipe Synergy Field locks out damage. Not just creature damage, all damage. Humility Jace locks out all creatures. We have a pile of counters, which changed during testing to some degree or another, but basically stayed the same. I ended up with the most total counters I played is what I ended up with. I worked on fewer. I worked on a couple spell snares, but against Stealth Snare is really good against things that are scary, like Hymn to Turok, and Infernal Tutor, but a little soft to some of the things. Like, I mean, after like the 3rd time where I had Spell Snare in my hand against Show and Tell, I was like, okay, I gotta cut one of these. Yes, green it is. 1 Snare and 2 Pierce, and 1 Flusterstorm. And then we have one back to basics, and then we have a removal, because every control deck has to play removal, right? So I played one Council Judgment and one Terminus. And you want to know what? That might have been too much. But we'll get to that afterwards. After talking about the event, we'll talk about potential changes going forward. We have our win conditions, 2 Helm of Obedience, and then we have our sideboard, which has some different defensive stuff against you know, various decks that you might run into in the format, and a pile of Planeswalkers. I actually played 5 for a while, and it went down to 4. Surprisingly, Gideon of the Trials, which I planned on playing, turned out to not be very good. Did I play red cards in the GP? No, I did not. I used a red card during the PTQ, but that's because I stole it. So anyway, there is the deck that I played in the PTQ. It took... I spent some real time building this up and putting this together, but I really enjoyed it. It was well worth the time I spent, and yeah, Legacy isn't. I mean, Legacy is an open format. You have an idea, you can make it work. You think you spend some time on it, figure out how things can, you know, things that just coalesce together. You can play whatever you want. I didn't go into this saying I want to play a cantrip heavy blue deck. I went into it saying I want to play Rest in Peace and Back to Basics, and the rest of the deck built itself. Well, with some work. And even the Back to Basics didn't end up being that relevant. But I would definitely play it. Actually, at the beginning, I had 2 Back to Basics and 2 Enlightened Tutors in the main deck for a ton of potential Back to Basics. Ended up with just 1 total and +1 on the board. Anyway, that is the deck for now, as it stands. Oops, that wasn't quite what I meant to do. That is neither. There we go. There's me. So, now we played in an actual event with the deck. This PTQ was 368 players. It was 6 rounds of Swiss. Probably have to go undefeated to make top 8. So, sit down along with everybody else. Got me my handy dandy deck. Really unsure if I've made a good decision in playing in this event at all. I was 6-2 in the Grand Prix overnight. I dropped in order to play this. Again, that was suggested by a couple other people that this was a bad idea. Wizard App, thanks, man. I showed Honorog my deck Sunday morning. Honorog looks at deck. Or maybe it was not Sunday. But anyway, I showed him the deck. He looked at it. Okay, he's jealous of me playing 4 predicts. Puts the deck back in the box. Couple second pause. He's like, wait a second. How many Swords of Plowshares were in there? None? Whoa. That's the reaction I was hoping for. Yeah. Removal is trash. It's inefficient. Killing things 1 for 1? 2 for 1? No. Just play a couple cards and invalidate every creature in their deck all at once. That's what we want. So. Round 1 of PTQ. I mulligan. Opponent plays turn 2 Show and Tell. Show and Tell is something that we're planning on just hilariously destroying. All we have to do is have Humility in our hand. We don't have to draw. We don't have to cast Humility. We just have to draw it. They can play turn 1 Show and Tell off land 2 Lotus Petals, drop Humility, boom, game over. Well, you have to actually draw the Humility though. I do not. Dead. Immediately. Game 1 tournament, down in flames. Alright? Maybe regretting this. Game 2, mulligan again. Have a better hand for the matchup. Obviously, that's going to happen since now we're sideboarded. I mulligan to have a hand that's going to be able to do something. Plus, we have our 3rd Humility boarded in. We're all set. We have Contained Priests. I'm not losing to this. Not losing today if I can help it. Alright, start out. You know, play some cantrips, do whatever nonsense stuff. Have Humility in my hand. But we don't really cast that because he get counter, right? We'll just save it. As long as he doesn't resolve Sneak Attack, we're fine. Nothing really happens early. I think he misses a land drop. I play Helm of Obedience because I don't have anything else to do. Play and play. Okay, it's in. I portent my opponent. His top 3 cards are Show and Tell, Lotus Petal. Okay. And he missed a land drop. So I give him the 2 Show and Tells on top and then the Lotus Petal. So he draws Show and Tell. Draws Show and Tell again, discards a card. Then I Helm for 1, mill the Lotus Petal. Then he draws another Lotus Petal off the top. Casts his Show and Tell. Now at this point, in my hand... Oh, but there's a defense grid in play also on his side. I have 5 land. I believe I have a counter spell. I'm not sure about that. I definitely have a Pie the Needle and Humility. And I have this Helm Venus in play. Well, the plan was just to drop Humility off of Show and Tell, and that will basically end the game. But there's a couple factors. 1, I have Helm of Beings on the board. 2, this is game 2, and I have to win another game. So if he doesn't know about Humility, well, that'd be great, right? I don't know if we can make this happen, but let's just see. So in response to Show and Tell, I Helm for 5. The 3rd card is Emrakul. Okay, I'll take Emrakul. Then we call a judge and figure out whether he has to shuffle or not because of the Emrakul being milled into play on my side. That gets sorted out. Now his Show and Tell goes to resolve. Well, I don't really want to play Humility now because I have an Emrakul. Emrakul's awesome, right? But I also have this Pie the Needle. So, okay, Show and Tell resolves. He puts in Gristlebrand. I put in Pie the Needle, name Gristlebrand. Because if you're unaware of this, and those of you who play Legacy know this, but when Show and Tell resolves, if you're holding a card like Pie the Needle, you get to name the card after you see what they put into play. So you name a card. So, I name Gristlebrand. And that's the end of that, because his Emrakul attacks him over, annihilates the whole board, and we're good. Okay. So, then we go to game 3. And no exciting, Helm of Being stuff goes on in game 3. But we have some counters, draw the game out, down Containment Priest. Containment Priest attacks a couple times, I think. And wraps the game up. Alright, we won the first round. Down a game, couple mulligans, no problem. I was telling, some people like, yeah, I think my matching Show and Tell's good. I'm like, yeah, right. No, I think it's alright. Humility strong. Containment Priest strong. Me, strong. Alright, 1 round in. Round 2. Play against Elves. And again, the only match I knew my opponent was playing was round 6. So I play against Elves. Things that happened in the Elf match. Game 1. Now, ways that Elves can get Humility off the board. 0. In the 75. Because the only thing they can have is Reclamation Sage, which doesn't work under Humility. That was relevant in the match. They have Abrupt Gaze in the sideboard, probably. But game 1, we have Recipe Synergy Field, which is a lock, aside from possibly Reclamation Sage. Now, unfortunately, it's 1 Reclamation Sage, but 7 or 8 tutors that can get it, which makes things complicated, because I don't have that many counters. But, game 1, I do assemble Recipe Synergy Field at 10 life. And I have a Force of Will in my hand, so I can counter his first tutor effect, either Natural Order or Green Sun's 8th. I will die immediately when the energy field blows up. So I have 1 Force of Will, and hopefully he doesn't draw more tutors than I draw counters before I draw a win condition. Unless, well, the best possible thing that could happen for me is that he actually draws Reclamation Sage. In his mind, that would probably be a great draw because it'll win the game. In my mind, it'll be a great draw because it'll also win the game, except for me. That's what happens. I pass the turn after locking the game up. He untaps, plays Reclamation Sage. I'm like, oh, force it. He's like, oh, game. He scoops it up right there because he knows he's wiped. Also, I forgot to mention this. This was when I walked into the convention hall Thursday afternoon. So this is Sunday morning when we're playing. I walked in Thursday afternoon, having spent the last few weeks working on this deck. I walk up to a random Grand Prix trial just to see what people are playing, because my friends I'm meeting aren't there yet. The first match I walk up to is someone playing Rip Helm. What are the chances? Really? It's definitely a lot different than mine, but I watched him play out his match. He had fast mana and tutors and different stuff. But yeah, somebody else playing Rip Helm. I mean, that's not that unlikely, but still, it was surprising that it was the first match I saw. I even took a picture of it. I should have put that up, but I forgot about it until right now. Anyway, back to the elf match. I win game 1. Game 2, my opponent molds to 5. I mold to 6. He beats me up. Okay. Game 3. Game 3. I keep... Now, those of you guys that have watched the stream have noticed that from time to time I keep hands that are probably less than ideal. That is what happens here. I do have an island in the plains. Okay, so we have mana, right? That's good. There's 2 Terminus in my deck because I boarded in the second one. They're both in my hand. There's also an Elspeth Sun Champion in my hand. And Rest in Peace. Rest in Peace is good, shuts down Deathrite Shaman. And then Brainstorm is good because it sets up the Terminus, right? Okay, should be fine. I'll just pretend that Brainstorm was in my opening hand. Because it makes it may look less insane, even though it wasn't. So, my opponent plays Deathrite Shaman turn 1. And I was going first. So, actually that doesn't sound right. Maybe I didn't have the Rest in Peace yet. Anyway, yeah, I don't think I had the Rest in Peace yet. So anyways, land. He plays a land. I draw a Brainstorm that I think I portented into or something. Okay, so I have a Brainstorm in my hand. That's perfect. I have 2 Terminus. We're all set. Now, I don't have a third land, but that's okay. We'll just wait until the right time to set this up. His turn 2. He casts a Thoughtseize. Well, that kind of stinks. He also Green Sun for Dryad Arbor. But the more important point is he casts a Thoughtseize. Well, obviously I have to Brainstorm in response. So I Brainstorm. No big deal. And I draw 3 cards. And my hand currently then consists of 2 Elspeth Sun Champion, 2 Terminus, 2 Rest in Peace, a Ponder, and a Counterspell. I do not have a third land. I do not have a real shuffle effect. I don't have a whole lot that affects the board. And I'm probably going to die. I have these 2 Terminus, but here's the issues with that. If I put back both Terminus, he will almost certainly take Ponder out of my hand, and then I'm basically stuck forever. I mean, yes, I'll be able to sweep the board, but I'm not going to develop at all. He'll know that I'm not going to develop at all, and he'll just do whatever he wants and probably beat me. So, I can't put back both Terminus. If I put back 1 Terminus, and his Thoughtseize resolves post-Brainstorm and he sees Terminus in my hand, he will know that I have put 1 back. Because why would I keep a Terminus in my hand if I wasn't putting 1 back? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So he won't overextend into it. And again, that doesn't do me any good. So I can't even put the Terminus next. I have to put the Terminus second down, put the Ponder on top of it. He will probably take Counterspell out of my hand, leaving me with 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Elspeths, and Terminus. So basically 5 useless cards. And that's it. But that feels like the only option here. So that's what we do. Man, finally got you covered. So I put back Terminus underneath Ponder and go from there. He takes Counterspell, like I thought he would. Puts out a fetch land, pass the turn. Great. I'm so screwed. How am I ever going to get out of this? Well, something that I am, and probably lots of other people that play, any format, are kind of constantly aware of is, if you're playing against somebody that's experienced and good, they're going to kind of anticipate what you're doing. However, you still have to do, you're not always playing against someone who fits that criteria. So, if you can, you still want to set things up to take advantage of people who are less experienced. So, for example, putting the Terminus second down. I draw for my turn. I draw the Ponder. And cast this Ponder. Now, what I'm really hoping for is to find a land. So I can then play my land for the turn and then still leave the Terminus on top of the deck. Because I don't want to have to shuffle. Because I'm going to need this Terminus at some point, probably. But if there's no land there, I'm probably going to shuffle. I'll just give up the Terminus. Well, there is a land. So I I take the land off the ponder, leaving the terminus on top again. Play my land, pass the turn. Now my opponent doesn't put together what's just happened. I'm fairly confident that if our roles were reversed, I would have been able to, and I think a lot of people, not to knock my opponent, but I feel like a lot of people would have been able to infer that Terminus is now the top card of my deck. My opponent plays out like some kind of elf, another Dryad Arbor, cast Natural Order. Well, crap. Okay, I'm not going to die because the Crater Hoof's going to put me down to like 2. But I'm going to be really, really low on life, and then I'll Terminus the board away, and then, you know, hopefully I can get everything assembled before I die, but that's looking pretty tough. So my opponent resolves his Natural Order, and I already counted up, like I'm going to go to 2. But my opponent gets Progenitus, because he wants like an unkillable win condition, because he hasn't quite figured out what's going on. So then I untap and Terminus, and he kind of reels in his seat. And instead of stabilizing at 2, I stabilize at 17. 17 is a lot more than 2. And all of a sudden, my clunky hand actually looks okay. So, then things progress from there. My hand is still, by the way, my hand is still a disaster. But now he's expended a lot of resources, so it's going to take him a long time to build back up. I was thrilled and stunned when that Progenitus came out of the deck. So the next couple turns, he redeploys stuff, starts attacking me. I play out like Rest in Peace and kind of just fumble around with my hand of uncastable nonsense. Make some land drops. We reach a point where I have 5 land in play. He's got like a turn or 2. I think he's still going to take him 2 more turns to kill me. I think I played an Energy Field and got Abrupt Decayed. And I've still got 2 Elspeths in my hand and a Terminus. And he knows about those. And those are my only cards. So I draw for my turn. And I'm really hoping to draw, you know, any cantrip or a land. Well, I draw a Predict. Like, ugh, well, that's not great. But okay. So I tap 2 land. And I think for a second, like, should I save this and cast it on his turn? Because if I randomly draw the other Terminus, then I can kill everything. But no, we're only playing 2 Terminus in the deck. One's been cast, one's in my hand, so that can't happen. So there's no reason to wait. Okay, Predict now. Look, I have 2 islands in play already, so there's no obvious card in there. Like, the only card in my deck that there's more than 4 of is Basic Island. But I already have 2. So doing it on myself doesn't accomplish anything. I survey his exile pile. Okay, he hasn't played Guy's Cradle yet, and I know that's gonna be a 4 of in his deck. He's not gonna have sported those out. So I name Guy's Cradle, predict him, miss. Okay, I draw a Predict. All right. Well, is there any reason to wait now? No, there's no reason to wait. Okay. Well, I'll Predict again. I don't think anything was wrong with my reasoning last time. So, I'll name Guy's Cradle again. Hit. So I draw 2 cards. I draw a land and a Containment Priest. So, I play the land and pass the turn. He untaps and plays Green Sun Zenith. Oh man, was that a good exchange for me. Containment Priest comes down, wipes out the Green Sun Zenith. Now he can only attack with 1 Nettle Sentinel instead of like Nettle Sentinel plus like 2 or 3 other elves. The next turn, I believe I play Elspeth, make tokens, or maybe I hardcast. No, I mean hardcast. Yeah, I play Elspeth, make tokens. The next turn, I draw Humility, play that. So now things are looking great. Time gets called, but that doesn't really matter. Because Elspeth outraces everything imaginable, pretty much, as we'll see as this tournament goes on. So I make tokens. He Abrupt Decay is the Containment Priest, which didn't actually make any sense. And I didn't, like, there's things that don't make sense but you understand why they did it. And this one didn't make any sense, and I didn't understand why he did it. It turned out that he was hoping to, he told me afterwards, he was hoping to try and set up another Natural Order to kill me. because he'd forgotten that the humility meant that his natural critical wasn't going to do anything anyway. So, he broke the case, the Container Priest, untaps, doesn't really do anything. I untap, make more tokens, and then on, I have no way of knowing if he would have conceded if time had run out, but on turn 5, I ultimate Elspeth and attack in the air for 27. So, 2-0. Having the time of my life, let me tell you. The, I feel like if I win another round, then I'll be perfectly happy having dropped from the Grand Prix to play this. Although, really, I might have already been, but... Round 3. Round 3, I play against a pile deck. Game 1, I mulligan. And get down recipes early, which obviously disrupts a lot of what he's trying to do. He draws a ton of removal, which doesn't do him any good. I believe he casts a Jace, and then like brainstorms, and then I play Helm and he dies. Okay. Game 2, I mulligan again. The game starts out. I predict him for a brainstorm hit. Alright. So we're like 2 out of 3 on blind predicts so far. On opponents. I think I might have missed 1 or 2 on myself. But anyway. So, got a few cards. Well, and he plays, his draw is like Baleful Strix and then Leovold. Well, Leovold is pretty good when your opponent, being me, has 16 card drawing spells in their deck. The, we do have an answer to Leovold in our hand. It's called Humility. But we also have a Flusterstorm. And I could wait until turn 5, and then I could have the Flusterstorm to protect the Humility, but then if he doesn't tap out, it's not going to work anyway. So I decided, alright, I'm just going to throw this down, hopefully he doesn't have a Force. He doesn't. Humility's on the board. What did we say? Decks cannot kill enchantments that cost more than 3. Same goes for Pile. That Humility is sticking. I don't have to know his deck list to be confident that Humility is never leaving the board. So, good. Leovold, irrelevant. Baleful Strix, well, it was irrelevant anyway. Deathray Shaman, irrelevant from Rest in Peace. So, really, he's looking at Planeswalkers now as cards that do something. Okay, he plays Jace. That sucks. Brainstorms with Jace. Well, Planeswalkers are good for him. Planeswalkers are good for me. I play Gideon, Mega Token. It's only a 1/1, but so are his guys. That doesn't last long, though. He bounces my token with his Jace, attacks my Gideon with his 2 guys, and then Kolaghan's commands to shoot me and redirect Gideon and make me discard a card. Alright, I pitch Flusterstorm after thinking about it for a minute. My Gideon's dead. Game proceeds for a couple turns. I take 2 a turn for a little while. And then he brainstorms again with Jace. I'm up to... I played something I must have predicted. This must be the turn I predicted, drew 2. And so I have an Elspeth in my hand now, and I have 6 land to play. I have 1 untapped mana on his turn. My hand is Elspeth and Brainstorm, that's it. He has Jace, and he has he plays Liliana the Last Hope to go with his Jace, Brainstorm, attacking for 2. Okay, end your turn, fetch, Brainstorm. Now, I know that, you know, end turn Brainstorm with no ability to shuffle is not ideal, but what I'm really hoping for here is if I can draw land Flusterstorm, or he's tapped out, land Spell Pierce. I don't remember if I left them in or not. I probably did. So if I can draw a 1-mana counter and a land, then I can play Elspeth and protect it. And you know what he's unlikely to be able to beat? Elspeth. So, okay. I cast this Brainstorm. I draw land Flusterstorm. Oh, okay. Untap. Super casually toss his fetch land on the board. Tap my other 6 land. Elspeth. He's just like... He's tapped out. He has Jace and Liliana and 2 creatures. And a few cards. 3 cards in his hand. Versus I have 1. He has 3 cards. He's like, whoa. Elspeth. Oh my gosh. You're playing Elspeth Sun Champion? Yes, I am. He's like, wow. Okay. I'm like, damn it, I really wanted him to Force the Will this. Okay, so it resolves. He's like, oh, wait. Oh, he had almost forgotten. He's like, oh, I almost forgot. Because I'm like extrapolating a little bit here. But basically, he was so stunned I played Elspeth's Jump Champion that he almost forgot. He basically did forget that he had a counter in his hand. He's like, oh, no, wait. I have Force the Will. I'm like, yes. Flusterstorm. Oh, destroyed. Elspeth makes 3 tokens. He's now depleted of resources. And I have no cards. I'm like, go. And he's just like, oh, okay. Jace, bounce a token. Liliana, plus kill a token. Go. I'm like, alright, so I have 1 token left over. I draw another Elspeth. I'm like, okay. Plus Elspeth, make 3 tokens. Play new Elspeth, make 3 more tokens. Go. Then he's like, alright, brainstorm with Jace. Liliana, kill a token. I'm like, his Jace is at 2. His Liliana's at 6. Like, attack everything with everything, or not everything. 4 tokens at Jace, 1 token at Liliana. It's like, alright, Jace dies. Next turn, all tokens at Liliana. Next turn, ultimate Elspeth. Fly over, kill him. Oh, that was so cool. I am loving this deck. We're 3 rounds in. We've won all 3. We play against 3 different decks. Elves, Sneak and Show, and Pile. And we've won with Elspeth twice. We've won with Emrakul stolen out of our opponent's deck. And we're just getting started. Round 4. We play again. Well, again, I don't know what I'm playing against. Opponent mulligans. He wins the roll. He mulligans. Turn 1. Ancient Tomb, Simian Spirit Guide, Blood Moon. Alright. Well, I have a Force of Will in my hand. But, do I want to Force the Will this Blood Moon? I have 2 islands and 2 fetch lands in my hand. Maybe it's 2 islands and 1 fetch land, but either way, I have 2 islands and, like, a fetch land. At least 1. You know what? No, I don't. I've played against this prison decks plenty, and I feel like the biggest mistake to people make when playing against prison decks is countering the prison pieces when they can just play around them. I have 2 islands. That's fine. He can have his Blood Moon. Okay. So, game goes on. We develop a little bit. Play an island. Play another island. He plays Chalice on 1. I Spell Snare it. He plays... let's see. He plays Magus of the Moon. I play Jace. He even anticipates it's going to be Jace. It just turns out not to be the Jace that he was expecting. Because I'm awesome. So Jace, Architect Thought plus. Alright. Magus of the Moon attacks Jace for 1. Cool. Next turn I play Helm of Obedience because whatever. I can't do anything else. I have Rest Peace in my hand, but I don't have white mana available. So I put that down. Next turn he attacks Jace for 1. Casts Fiery Confluence to effectively to kill Jace, and I force that. So I don't have many cards left. I have a Spell Pierce, and I don't even know if I have anything else. Alright. Your turn. Go, plus Jace, go. Attacks. Fiery Confluence again. He plays Trinisphere. Spell Pierce is Fiery Confluence. Whew. Okay, we're still good. Jace is still holding down the fort. You can do that forever if I need him to. I assume they draw basic planes will be fine, right? That's what I'm thinking. We'll just wait till we draw basic planes and then I'll, like play Rest in Peace and win the game immediately. Well, patience starts to run out. Eventually he's going to draw... I got the counters now. So if he draws another relevant card, I'm going to die. Or at least be in huge trouble. So he attacks again. Jace triggers. His Magus turns into 1-2. I'm like, alright, Helm for 5. Because if I get a Magus of the Moon, I can block and kill his because his is attacking as a 1-2 and mine's a 2-2. Well, I don't get Magus of the Moon. I get Hazaret. Hazaret cannot block because I have too many cards in my hand. However, this is not the worst thing ever. You know why it's not the worst thing ever? Because I don't have any white mana. And my deck is white. However, I have a ton of red mana because of Blood Moon, and I have a red card in play. So, okay, maybe we can make this work. The rest of this game, believe it or not, because my opponent took 2 damage on turn 1 from Ancient Tomb. The rest of this game consists of him loading the board with lock pieces. He plays a Chalice, he plays a Trinisphere, he plays another Magus of the Moon, and I shoot him 9 times with his own Hazoret to win the game. Is it possible that anyone had a better time than me in this PTQ? I don't think so. This is great. Okay, we're up a game. Game 2, I get completely destroyed. He goes, like, turn 1 Blood Moon or Magus of the Moon again. I get annihilated. I have basic planes, I think, but not a basic island. Destroyed. Okay, moving on. Game 3. Game 3, he has turn 1 Blood Moon effect again, all 3 games. And then, after a couple turns, he plays Scab Clan Berserker. Now, that's bad news. It's not bad news for humility, but I don't have humility. Attacks for 2, renowns. Now it's a 3/3. Now it's going to shoot me for 2 whenever, basically whenever I do anything. So that's problematic. Similar to one of the earlier games, I'm now thinking to myself, similar to Game 3 against the Elf deck, I'm thinking to myself, how could I get out of this? I don't think it's really possible. You know, he attacks for 3 a couple times. I have 2 Gideons in my hand, but I have 2 islands, 1 plains, and a fetch land, so I cannot cast a Gideon. Even if I could, it's unclear if it would be enough. I draw, and playing this deck is such a blast. There's so much wild stuff in here. Even though I built this with intentional, there are reasons for everything, it still seems weird playing it. I draw Into the Royal. Well, Into the Royal, as we've established, was my anti-Merit Lage card. It just happens to do other things also. So, I have Into the Royal. He attacks again with his guy. I think he plays a Magus. No, he doesn't play Magus of the Moon yet. He just has a Blood Moon on the board. He plays some other lock piece. I don't know what. Anyway, so at the end of his turn, I cast Into the Royal on the Blood Moon. He doesn't know what it is. I'm not surprised. So he reads it. Okay. Take 2 from Scab Clan Berserker. I'm like, no. Because I think maybe because it's kicked, this costs 4, not 2. So I won't take damage. And he's like, what? I'm like, because I'm using the kicker, so I don't think I take any damage from the Scab Clan guy. But I'll call a judge to find out. And he's like, okay. So I call a judge over. I'm like, Judge, so I'm casting Into the Royal, and he has the Scab Clan guy in play. Do I take the damage? The judge is like, yes. I was like, oh, okay. So it turns out Scab Clan Berserker does 2 damage to the opponent whenever they play a non-creature spell. Eidolon of the Great Revel does 2 damage whenever you cast a spell that's cheap. Pyrostatic Pillar does 2 damage whenever you cast a spell that's cheap. Scab Clan does not care how much your spell costs. Which was then pointed out to me. I was like, oh yeah, there was a time when I knew that, but in the meantime I've forgotten about it. So I just called the judge and asked the dumbest question of the day, probably. Well, probably not actually, but anyway. So, okay, so I take 2 damage. I believe I'm at 6 at this point. Alright, I kill the Blood Moon. No, I'm at 7. I'm at 7. So I kill the Blood Moon, untap, during my upkeep, fetch, get my second planes, go to 6, cast Gideon, make a token. I'm at 4. But now I have a token, and now I have a board. He untaps, thinks for a minute. Probably the first time he's played against Gideon out of a blue-white Rip Helm deck on the day, I would think. So he thinks for a minute. And he's got his 3/3 Scab Clan guy. I don't know what he's going to do. If he attacks me, I'm at 4. Gideon's also at 4. If he attacks, I think I'm not blocking. Because if he attacks me, I'll go to 1. I can't play another spell. However, maybe Gideon can win the game eventually. If he attacks Gideon, I'll let it go to 1. Who cares? But either way, I need to get a second token out so I can double block the Scab Clan Mauler the next turn. So, not sure exactly what I'm going to do. He plays Magus of the Moon. Now he's a second creature. He doesn't attack. Okay, great. I'll take it. My turn. I planning on casting. Oh no, I'm sorry. He replays the Blood. No, he didn't replay the Blood Moon. He played Magus of the Moon, which he must have drawn for the turn. Doesn't replay the. That doesn't seem right either. He played Chalice on 2. That's what happened. He plays Chalice on 2, which makes sense because that stops me from getting the lockout. Now, I'm worried about a number of things here. Chief of which is, in game 2, I established my lock, which I thought he wouldn't be able to beat, and he played 2 Chaos Warps and destroyed me. So, good for him having a well-built sideboard. And I would congratulate him if he wasn't playing against me, and I would be loving it if he was beating up somebody else with Chaos Warp. Instead, it's me, and I'm worried he's going to draw those again, because he played 2 of them in game 2. So anyway, so I'm at 4. I have this backup Gideon in my hand. He has a Chalice on 2 that he just played, his Scab Clan Mauler, and I have Gideon and a token. Now, he's been at 16. So passes the turn to me. 16 is way too much for me to be able to, like, aggressively pressure with Gideon attacks. So I'm thinking about what I want to do, and I realize something. And it's key. And I'm like, hold on. How much are you at? He's like, 16. And I was like, did you take 4 damage last turn for your 2 Ancient Tombs? And he's like, no. Oh, you're right. I'm at 12. I'm like, yes, 12. Because he forgot, so did I, that the Blood Moon was no longer in play. So he tapped Mountain, Ancient Tomb to cast Chalice on 2. And took 4 damage when he only had to take 2, but he forgot that it wasn't there. Okay, so he's actually at 12, which is a little lower. And importantly, it's 2 Gideon attacks plus 1 token attack is 12. So that actually matters. Anyway, for the turn, I draw Council's Judgment. So now I've got Council Judgment. I'm at 4 still. No counters. I've already used a couple. I don't have any more. So if he draws another Fiery Confluence, I'm dead. At the moment, I can survive a Chandra activation, but just 1. If I play this Council Judgment, then I'm at 2, and 1 Chandra will kill me. But what else am I going to do? So, well, I could not cast it, but I decided to cast it. I cast Council's Judgment, kill the Scab Clan Mauler, I go to 2. I attack with just Gideon. He takes it and goes to 7. I don't attack with a token because I'm at 2, and a Scab Clan Mauler or a Hazard off the top would kill me if I don't have a blocker. So he draws and plays, I think, Magus of the Moon. Maybe it was another Scab Clan Mauler. I'm not sure about that. Anyway. Or could even have been Simian Spirit Guide. Either way, it's a 2-2. My turn. Okay. I attack with both guys. After thinking about it for a minute. If there's any point in holding back, but there isn't. Attack with both guys. He chump blocks Gideon. Goes to 3. I play another Gideon. Make a token. So again, I still have a blocker in case he draws a haste guy. He draws. Thinks about it for 30 seconds. Taps all his mana. He's like, oh, you got a mana. I don't have anything. I'm like, oh. He's like, I'm bluffing. I'm like, ah! I'm like going out of my mind here. Anyway, that match was unbelievable. All these matches were great. I can't believe I won this game when I was almost locked under Scab Clan and Blood Moon, and Into the Royal bails me out by, oh, what a match. Okay, 4-0. Having a great time. Super happy I dropped from the Grand Prix to play this. Round 5. Round 5, I play against Burn Delver, or Blue-Red Delver. I didn't actually see a Delver, but I assume they were in there. In fact, I think I saw him pitch one to a Force. Anyway, so this is, if you're unfamiliar, it's like Monster Swift Spear, Delver, the flying Monster Swift Spear, the blue-red guy, Storm, it's not Storm Chaser Mage, I don't think, it's something like that. The Prowess 1/3 flyer. Anyway, so this game starts out, again, I don't know what he's playing. But he plays one of those flying haste prowess guys on turn 2 or 3. Game goes along. I get like bolted for prowess and stuff. But I get out Rest in Peace Energy Field. This guy is clearly experienced in Legacy and he's been playing for a while. because I get recipes energy field and he just picks it up because he knows he's dead. He doesn't have to ask what the cards are or anything. Not that, I mean, people know what recipes is, but not as many people know what energy field does. So, okay, so I win game 1. Game 2 starts out decently well. He plays a early guy. I think I Terminus away a Swiss Spear. Then, like, on turn 4, I make... It's hard to say for sure it was a game-losing error because I might have lost anyway. In fact, I say there's a decent chance I would have lost anyway. But he plays a Monastery Swiss Spear, and I force it, and then he plays, on the same turn, he plays an Eidolon. I'm like, oh boy. So Eidolon resolves, and attacks a few times, and I get wiped out. So I die pretty... I don't put too much resistance after that. Game 3, I mulligan. I have a lot of cantrips, not a lot of log pieces. I think I play Recipes on turn 3. Maybe counter something of his. And then, actually, it might have been Recipes on 2. I think I would turn 1 Ponder, turn 3 Recipes. Because I have more Recipes than Energy Field, so if he's going to counter one, it may as well be that one. Even though I don't have an Energy Field yet. Turn 3, I cast a couple. I like cantrip into an energy field, and then brainstorm within this turn to find another energy field. So I untap on turn 4 at 9, and play. Actually, I think there's an Eidolon on the field. I'm at 13, and so I play my 4th land. And so this I said on Twitter yesterday when I was having another discussion / argument about the handshake thing that's been coming up over the last few weeks. And I realized that several pros wrote articles about this, and everyone says you should always shake their hand. Winner offering is fine. It's about sportsmanship, blah, blah, blah. I think that attitude is naive and stupid. And this match is the example of why I feel that way. So, so this next turn, so I untap on turn 4, I play Energy Field. He force wills it. I play another Energy Field, and he says, fuck you. And then he picks up his cards. And I don't say anything. I do not extend my hand. This player's in a bad mood. You have to respect that. Give them a chance. You do not offer your hand. I feel very strongly about this. I decideboard. I take a couple notes. I pick my stuff up. I haven't got up. I'm still sitting there. You know, fill out the match slip. Maybe 45 seconds goes by. The guy's assembling his stuff. And then he extends his hand. He's like, you know, good match, man. Good luck. I was like, thanks, you too, man. That guy was furious when he lost. And I've been there. I get upset when I lose too sometimes. Not always, but it happens. And you know how long it took him to calm down? 40 seconds. Which, good for him. It's probably the same for me. Am I upset about anything that happened there? No. I think it's completely fine. I've been through that. I don't usually cuss at my opponent. Well, I do it online when I'm not streaming, but I don't do it in person. Am I at all bothered by what he said? No. Would I have called a judge and said, oh, my opponent's on sports? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. He's angry. He's disappointed. He's frustrated. He lost. This is a tough tournament. He's not going to make top 8 now. Everything that happened is completely fine. You know what would have made it worse? Me offering to shake his hand when he's pissed off. Instead, you wait for him to calm down, you wait for him to accept that he lost, and then he's cordial. And that's why the winner does not offer, because all this stuff about sportsmanship is just selfish. You're not considering the other person, you're only considering yourself. I want to seem like I'm a good sport. That is not important. I don't care if you're a good sport. That doesn't do anything for me. Your feelings of your own, you know, superior sporting attitude, I don't care. I care that I'm upset that I lost. And if you give me 30 seconds, I probably won't be upset at you anymore, even though I was at the beginning. What's that 30 seconds cost me? Nothing. I really think more people should keep this in mind, and when these kinds of things come up. It's not a huge deal, but I think it's nice. The Twitter discussion last night when I was going back and forth with somebody, when I was traveling home, it was the same discussion as before. The person's like, I'm a good sport. I think sportsmanship's important. Dude, I'm not saying I don't think it's important. And I told this guy last night, I was like, listen, I think it's more important. Yuka34, thank you. I think it's more important, and this person was like, people that are fragile or that are bad losers, and, I don't care about them. I just want to be a good sport. It's like, dude. And I even responded to this person who didn't understand the message at all, unfortunately. I was like, dude, it's more important to me to take into account the feelings of the people that are fragile or that are bad losers. Or not even bad losers. They're just frustrated that they lost. Those are the people that you should be concerned about. And it's not hard. Just don't force yourself on them until they've calmed down. And if they don't calm down, then you don't shake their hand. If they don't offer, if they leave and they're upset, that happens. Let it be. You do not need to force yourself on them in their space when they're upset. Because they're probably not going to be upset for that long. I get upset when all the people are saying, oh, it's just a game. Get over it. You know what? I will get over it. It just might take me 30 seconds. So give me that 30 seconds. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. I won that match on the second energy field. I was scared of casting it. I thought about waiting to play around the days, but I wasn't ultra confident that I'd survive, so I decided to just jam it out there. He had 2 cards left after the first force. It resolved. That was it. And he offered a handshake 40 seconds later. It's good for him being able to compose himself in that much time. Round 6. I play against Eldrazi aggro. And again, this is the only match on the day where I knew what my opponent was playing, because as we move through the rounds, obviously, I'm trying to gather some idea of what people at the top tables are playing. I did happen to know this player was playing Eldrazi aggro because I sat next to him the previous round, or maybe it was 2 rounds ago. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so I know he's playing. I win the roll. My opening hand has 1 or 2 cantrips and my spell snare. So normally I would probably play Ponder on the turn 1, but instead, since I know he's playing Eldrazi, I just play land pass. He goes turn 1, Ancient Tomb, Chalice of the Void. I spell snare it. I'm sitting there wanting to congratulate myself because that makes a big difference in the game. Turn 2, I play, another cantrip, pass the turn. Or maybe I held up predict, I'm not sure. Anyway, I do something, pass the turn. Maybe you even played Rest in Peace, I don't know. He plays another Chalice of the Void. Okay. And then he plays Ivugin 2 Eldrazi Mimics. Okay. So it's turn 2, and so far he's played 2 Chalice on 1s and 2 Eldrazi Mimics. Well, that's pretty good. I don't know what I do on turn 3, but I have Helm of Beings in my hand, which, if I can get to turn 5, will win the game. Although I'm unsure whether I can even last that long. He plays turn 3 Thought-Knot Seer. Attack for 8. Okay, that's a pretty good start. And then turn 4, he plays the Mana Reshaper and attacks for 10, and I die. So he played 2 Chalice of the Voids and killed me on turn 4. That's pretty good. Noteworthy is that I cast a Portent on my turn 4 and found an energy field, but I couldn't cast it because I don't draw it till his turn. So there were 2 games on the weekend that I lost because of playing Portent instead of Preordain. That's an important thing to remember going forward, because while Portent is better with Predict than Preordain is, and it's better with Terminus, it is still a weak card overall. So I haven't made up my mind yet on whether I'm going to change anything relating to that, but it does exist. That is an issue sometimes. So I lose game 1. All right. It's okay. Got some good cards. Game 2. Game 2 was same as the rest of the day. It was wild. Game 2 starts out. The board develops. He plays Chalice on 1. He plays a little bit later. He plays Chalice on 2. And I think I terminus the board, and then he rebuilds a little bit, and I play Humility, but there are a couple creatures on the board for him, and I have 6 land, and my hand is like Portent, Predict, Brainstorm, Ponder. None of those are castable through his Chalice on 1, Chalice on 2. He's got like 3 guys, so he's like tagged for 3. Maybe I think it's 4 guys. Maybe he has 2, and then he plays another one. He plays another one. Anyway, I'm taking damage. I have 6 land to play. I draw another land. Crap. All right, go. He attacks again. I go down to like, I don't know, 7. Looks like from my notes, 8 actually, because no, it's not. I go to 9. So he's got 4 guys on the board. I'm at 9. At the end of his turn, I fetch to Thin because even though fetching to Thin is, not the best. What else am I going to do? I got nothing going on. He has a Wasteland in play, and I have a Tundra in play. He does not Wasteland me. That is crucial. I have 6 land total, so not saying him wasting my Tundra is an absolutely correct play. But I know later on he was wishing he did it. So basically I need to draw my 1 remaining Terminus or Jace. Jace would be good. And there's 2 other cards I can draw. Well, 2 of I can draw. And it's probably the least likely card he would have ever expected to happen. But anyway, I fetch to Thin, hand in my deck. He shuffles it real thoroughly, hands it back, and then I draw a card. And I play my 7th land, and I tap 7 because of the Thorn. And he's like, oh, Terminus? Like, no, it's quite a bit better than that. And I play Elspeth, and I get 3 guys. And he's like, oh. So now he still has his 4 guys versus my 3 guys, and I'm still at 7. And he has Chalice on 1 and Chalice on 2, and a Thorn, and I have 4 uncastable cards in my hand. But I also have Elspeth, and Elspeth is very good. So he goes to his turn, and he thinks forever on his turn. And he taps a little bit of mana, and then untaps, thinks some more, taps a little bit of mana, untaps, thinks some more, calls the judge, he's like, Judge, can I use Eldrazi Temple for 2 mana to search with Ayavugan? No, you can't. He's like, yeah, I didn't think so. All right. And I've totally been there too, where you know how your cards work, but then you call a judge to ask if you're wrong about your own cards because that's your only chance. Yeah, okay. Think some more. Go. I'm like, all right, cool. Untap, draw, make 3 more tokens, go. And he's like, oh. And like, I mean, I was so destroyed. Yeah, I had like 4 cards I could have drawn, but still, I was in bad shape. But I drew one of them. And he's like, this time he doesn't think much because nothing's changed. He's like, okay, draw, yeah, go. I'm like, all right, make tokens. He's like, yeah. I'm like, cool. Ultimate, crush you. All right, game 3. We go to game 3. He mulligans in game 3. He doesn't have a good start. He misses his 2nd land drop. And I'm like, all right, come on. However, my hand is not that good either. And he misses his land drop. Then he misses only once. Then he draws like a 2-mana land on turn 3 and plays something. And then he plays some more stuff. And I'm like, come on. I have Rest in Peace in play. And then I like cast a cantrip. And so then he plays another guy. And it's my last turn. And I know the top card of my deck. And I have 4 mana. 2 islands and 2 plains. And I have Rest in Peace in play. So I'm like, okay, predict myself, name whatever the top card of my deck is, flip it over. So I'm drawing 2 cards. 3 energy fields in my deck. Or on turn 4, I'm probably like 12 or so cards into my deck. So there's like 48 left and it's 3 energy fields. Drawing 2 fresh cards. If I draw an energy field, I almost certainly win. If I draw anything else, I'm dead. I don't hit it. So, thus ends the run in the PTQ. Then, it turns out, so I went into, okay, so there were 12 undefeated players after round 5, me being one of them. The top 2 tables draw because through the, you know, tiebreakers of just purely the people they played against. Everyone has the same record. But their opponents have done better. So the top 2 tables get to draw. The other 8 of us have to play. But it comes out that one person who top 8s has to leave. And the judges announce, okay, if someone were to, because this guy's obviously already talked to them, it comes out that one person is going to leave, and they say, well, okay, we're going to hand out prizes, and then as we prepare the top 8, if anyone is going to leave, we will advance the 9th person into the top 8 to play for the invite. Okay, so I was second going into the round of, there's one guy ahead of me, effectively, in tiebreakers, of the people that were undefeated and lost. So if I can jump one guy, I can still make top 8. I don't know what the difference was going into the round. It probably wasn't much because we're all the same record, and it's not that long of a tournament. It's only 6 rounds. So, and the last round, I know our tiebreakers are the same because we both lost to people that are now 6-0. So one guy ahead of me by some minor margin, and all I have to do is pass that guy, I can still make top 8. Well, after like, it felt like a long time. Maybe it was like 8 minutes or so. No, it wasn't that long. It just, well, it was a while. However long it was. They finally seat the top 8. I do not jump the one guy. Not only do I not jump the one guy, 14 people, wait, was it 14? No, it was 15. No, 9 additional people passed me. So, I don't know how that happened exactly. But, I went from needing to pass one guy to actually finishing 18th. But that's not particularly relevant, as either way, I was not going to make top 8, and finishing, you know, 9th versus 18th really doesn't matter that much. Thus ends the recap and the tournament weekend of playing Rip Helm for the first time was over. I really enjoyed it. I also had just very entertaining games that maybe the deck will always generate games like that, although I doubt it because, I mean, what the chances of winning a game with a stolen Hazoret off of red mana generated from his Blood Moon just cannot happen very often.